to start with our first 6 winners. So Julian Jaffe goes to Boyers Community School in New Jersey. He will be class of 2017 at Marlboro. He's accepted our full scholarship, and he'll be hopefully studying with Sarah physics and astronomy and maybe some other things. And his project is titled Solar Recycling Machine. So take it away.
So, have you ever wondered if you could recycle scrap metal and plastic without a giant recycling machine? You can harness energy that pours down from the sky in a number of ways, and humans use this energy for a lot of things. First of all, plants use it to get the food they need, and sometimes we use it to get the energy we need, to create vitamins for our bodies and stuff like that. My invention for Beautiful Minds and my idea is the solar recycling machine, and it uses radiation from the sun as a heat source in order to heat waste products like metal, zinc, plastic, and stuff like that. And it can melt waste products down into liquid. So here's the main idea. So here's how it works. This is the Fresnel lens, and the Fresnel lens is this lens that was used in old projection TVs that were really big. You've seen them before, they're pretty big. And within the TVs, they had these Fresnel lenses that were used for amplifying images. So people all over the world have been taking them out of these TVs and using them as fun little lasers. So I decided to make something useful out of it. So here's the lens. This is what it looks like. So it's like a giant magnifying glass, pretty much. So here's a diagram of how it basically works. So you have prisms that were etched in long ago, and the light represents the sun. So it takes all this unorganized beams of light from the sun and focuses it to it. So here's how I was able to use that as a machine. So you can, So creative individuals have often used the Fresnel lens to create a makeshift laser beam, formerly referred to as the death ray, but no one ever really uses it for anything more productive or useful. That's where my idea comes in. I've applied lenses as a recycling machine, melting down plastics, metals, and reusable materials that are no longer in use, then turning the melted materials into a new object. In my machine, it's a small crucible made out of ceramic or clay holds a meltable material that isn't too tough to melt. So the crucible, when the object is melted, it's tilted into a mold, which is shaped either as a toy or a tool or anything that you might want to make. And I can make these molds out of clay tools or with other techniques. So here's the lens collecting sunlight for the backside of the lens, and on the bottom side you have the crucible right here. So this is a little prototype I was using at my house. So here's the main idea. This invention could bring something good out of destruction because of how inexpensive it is and how convenient it can become. So imagine the mass production of machines such as this that could safely recycle your old cast iron pots and tin and foil if you could have enough heat. It uses absolutely no electricity whatsoever, so it needs no coal or petroleum. The only thing it needs is good weather. Anyone will be able to operate one if designed to be safe enough, and a lever system could be installed to pour the molten metal or plastic when it's liquefied into a mold. A more professional design of a solar recycling machine could be revolutionary. Though the concept is simple and not completely new, back in the ancient Bronze Age, blacksmiths in their villages used to use crucibles made out of clay and coal underneath them to melt copper ingots and ore into bronze and use that and pour that into molds, and they were able to provide tools and weapons for the village. So this is a much more eco-friendly way of doing that, as without using coal, you use the sun. So there are many potential uses for this idea, and I feel that if incorporated into the real world, even on a small scale, many wasted things could be cast into fun and useful things. Thank you.
Great. So we have about 5 minutes for questions. What questions do you have, Julian?
What have you made out of it? You said you've been trying it at home. What have you actually turned the melted plastic or whatever into?
Well, so far I've been using a sort of a prototype because the lens isn't incredibly powerful, so it can only melt very soft metals like zinc and aluminum. I've so far been able to cast like a little ring, and it can fit on your finger and it works as a ring. It's not very pretty, but I was able to turn a bunch of rusty pennies that you wouldn't really want to give to anybody, and I turned them into a ring. And I also was able to melt down plastic and pour it into a mold, but it didn't really work out so well. But I was able to make a few things out of the invention, but I could make more if I just had enough time.
So it was hard to tell how big the lens was. Is it the size of an old TV? Is that...
The size of the lenses vary, but my lens was about this big. So, and there are two different kinds of lenses. There's the linear lens and the spot lens. The spot lenses can be smaller, but they have much more heat because the beam is more compact. As with like the linear lens, it's more used for like, people can use it for cooking. Like I remember I was able to use it to cook ramen in a little pot. So it was cool, we called it solar ramen.
I'm assuming it varies for different materials, but how long does it take to melt stuff?
The first metal I ever tried on was solder, and it took about like 20 seconds for it to melt into like something that you can easily bend with like just a stick by poking at it. And it takes, on a good like really sunny day, it can like light wood on fire in like 5 seconds. So it can get pretty hot.
Did you come up, is this a project you've been wanting for a while, or did you come up with it after you took the problem?
Well, I already made like the lens, like I got a lens and I framed it and made the laser part of it a while ago. But after the Beautiful Minds prompt, I was thinking of ideas, and I figured if I could use this heat source that nobody's using for productive use besides it's really fun and it's really cool, I could use it as, you know, like an actual heat source that could be useful for a recycling machine or even like just for cooking. So.
Great. One more question.
Have you used it to cook a lot of things after you did it? Like I know you said you made ramen, but
Yeah.
like is this like now you use it in the household?
I have cooked, me and my friends, when we first made the laser part of it, well, I did it, and then they were really interested, so they were like, hey, we should cook stuff. So after we made ramen, they kind of got like some potato, and we made like little cookies, and they were not that good. But it was cool. And we also were able to fry some eggs, and